Welcome back, everybody. I'm Billy.
I'm Eddie,
We are,
the trick-or-treaters.
and today we just got done watching Fear
Fear Street
Street, the
Prom
Prom
Queen.
Queen. Now, this movie is, and we've already watched the trilogy. We'll rewatch and review for the channel, but this is a standalone. It is in the same universe. It's all takes place in Shadyside.
Mm-hmm.
This is primarily focused on. There's Laurie Granger, who is basically her family. She thinks her family name is cursed.
Yeah.
Bad things happened to her mom and dad when they were younger, and mom took the blame, and she's running for prom queen. But so are five other girls. You have Tiffany Falconer, who, not the one they had breakfast with, but Tiffany Falconer, who is your stereotypical mean girl, and the Wolf Pack. It's a group of four, and then there's two other candidates running that are like underdogs. Christy, the drug dealer, and then you have Lori, who is the psycho, as they label her.
Mm-hmm.
And Lori's best friend is Megan, who is that would be like our type because she is like goth, funny,
Has no problem pretending to cut off going on.
loves Lost Boys,
That was great.
simulated self mutilation. She said, "I bet nobody's been ever written up for that."
She and it takes place in '88.
So that'd be
So
10 years after 1978
I
occurs.
bet that if there is a timeline being pieced together for the Fear Streets.
I think there is. Thank God that we did not get another year as the title of the movie. It's hard to keep track of all the years. I'm glad
Yes.
they went with Prom Queen because, yeah, it takes place in '88, but it's not the title of the film. The year is just so happened when it occurs. Kevin Kline from American Pie plays one of the teachers. You have the lady from, what is the actress name from The Mist? Do you know her name?
No, that's something.
The lady that plays the religious freak in The Mist plays the vice principal. This movie's in and out with end credits. It's an hour and a half, but it's probably like 85 to 86 minutes. I like that it didn't overstay its welcome. I also like that this isn't like the trilogy where it's unkillable killers. This is a whodunit slasher mystery. So you have to go in not expecting the same thing as the trilogy. It's its own thing.
Hopefully they see that. Okay, somebody saw it. Hopefully, I'm expecting company where they just, it's like, we're on the way over.
Okay.
But I told them I was out of town and I'd be there soon. But this was a great film. It's '80s, so it's your typical '80s slasher. Like Billy said, it's not Jason or Michael. It's not your unkillable killer. But it's great. I enjoyed it. And if you look at my collection, which you'll get a preview of next week.
Well, no, we just did the
Yeah,
collection part one.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. They'll
And
get
the
the
next
first
time,
part next week.
no, the first part's up now.
Oh, is it up now?
Yeah, that's coming up today.
Okay.
So yeah, by the time you're seeing this, you've already seen his collection part one video.
I wasn't sure how he arranged the upload. But a lot of it is '80s. I love that decade of film, especially in the horror genre. And that's exactly what it had, a killer soundtrack.
Pun intended, huh? He pulled me into the '80s stuff. I've seen some Stranger Things. Obviously, is '80s. It's all '80s. That's another reason that makes it so good. But the soundtrack slaps. They got the '80s down. The Mean Girl, I will say, the actress that played Tiffany, perfect. Just makes you want to go through the screen and slap her in the face. It makes you want to see her get her ass kicked. Her friend group, they're all just kind of followers. When they start thinking for themselves a little bit, there are some redemptive qualities of them. They just happen to be scared to cross the leader of their gang kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's not like a true friendship because she used intimidation basically to keep the friendships. So that's never good. The slasher elements. I liked the who done it. The only thing is I wish they would have had a little more time to play into the red herrings a little bit more.
Yeah.
To kind of make certain people look guilty that aren't the killers. I would have loved to have seen like one of the characters with a weapon, or they just so happen to have like a pocket knife or something to kind of throw off the trail a little bit more here, because I didn't guess the killers when I first watched this because I had different suspects. I definitely
did.
Yeah, it's kind of We won't spoil who it is. We'll let you watch
But
it.
I grew up watching crime shows, Criminal Minds, Bones, CSI. So I've gotten really good at the whole whodunit bit.
Yeah, you have. Eddie a lot of times will not only laugh at the brutal creative kills, he will also sometimes predict who the killers are, or at least have an idea of what maybe the motive, even if he doesn't always get the killer right. So he's
Final
pretty good at picking up on
Destination.
that.
Those deaths are gruesome and awesome.
We
And
were laughing in the theater, and I was nodding my head at how good the kills were because,
for Bloodlines,
yeah,
yes.
great movie.
He had not seen any of the others
No, and we
before
will get into
Bloodlines.
Final Destination series at some point. We were talking about doing all kinds of stuff. I say if you look at this movie, this Fear Street as its own thing, it's really good as a straight up slasher. But if you're trying, it's hard to compare it to the original trilogy because it's 3 movies going in one. This was meant to be standalone, and there are 3 more films that are going to be made. Different director here. He was going for an in and out 90 minutes or less slasher film. I think he did a good job.
He pulled it off. He did a great job.
There were a couple of kills that I thought were weak.
Which one?
The first one, I don't want to spoil it, but that one,
Yeah.
they should have done a little more cat and mouse or more awareness of your. It goes to show you, be aware of your environment. There's a character that was not aware of their environment, and it led to their demise too easily. There wasn't a fight back. There wasn't a lot of fight back, actually. There's a lot of running.
Well, I mean, we're dealing with teenagers. I mean, well,
Yeah.
even in Friday the 13th, some of them have fight back, but it's normally the final girl.
Right, but they're young and more in shape a lot of times than, you know what I mean? They can run longer. There's certain things, but I think also they're not expecting it, so they get caught by surprise.
Very
But
true.
they did a good job with making her the mean girl. Lori is the underdog you root for because she is actually the type of person, her, Megan, are the type of people I would have wanted to have been around, not the mean girl. Because the kind of humor they have, we have a little. See, they say Eddie and I have dark humor. We've never said we were joking. So it's on them. But I enjoy this film. It's not a. I've seen better, but I've seen worse. It's not like a masterpiece. But if you said, "Hey, every year or so we're going to rewatch Fear Street, including this one," I'm on board with it.
The Fear Street Saga, as I'm going to dub it.
Yes,
It's at least a once a year rewatch.
I agree. And if they keep adding volumes, I'm glad we didn't get it rushed. I mean, yeah, I would have loved to have seen another trilogy with a bigger mystery.
And if
I would love to have seen another trilogy here, but I'm okay with them doing a one-off in between. If the next 3 are also standalone, I'm okay as long as they have good stories. I mean, there are things that could have been better. Like I said, I think the red herring just could have been played on a little bit more. But Fear Street, a lot of the books I've read too, there are twists and turns like, oh, that actually is happening. And I think they could have maybe done a little bit better with the red herrings or had like event A happens, give you a little twist, and then there's another twist on top of that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But then you also don't want to do the same thing every other movie's doing. So
exactly.
sometimes being a little bit predictable is okay. What did you think of Laurie's character?
Enjoyable character. Mostly 80s, they focus on the underdog. I mean, even without the horror genre, the 80s, they love to focus on the underdog.
Yeah. The one thing I will say, there is a moment where her and Megan are kind of like, Megan is trying to warn her of things and she's not listening to her. Megan's that friend you want. So I did feel Lori had another side of wanting to be the it girl,
Yeah.
which at times can be a little bit unappealing.
Nah,
Megan's the best though, in my
yes,
opinion.
and
And Christy.
if Netflix's physical stores work out, I'm hoping we get physical releases of all 4 of these.
Could you imagine a Fear Street like Steelbook Blu-ray collection?
Ooh.
I would buy that first day, no questions. Comes with like one of the masks because you can't buy the Scarecrow mask, which I would love to get that little because I already have like the red and black
Yeah.
flannel. All I need is like a fake. I have a fake axe too.
Oh
I could go as that for Halloween and just scare the shit out of people.
God, that would.
Could you imagine us dressing as Fear Street killers and just like reenacting with some of our friends? The books are great, guys. I've read the first 10 and some prequels. It talks about how this town's cursed. Shady Side, there's like a series of curses, right? It all started with a couple of families that were rivals, but like this movie doesn't have Sarah Fear is mentioned. That's not a major spoiler. It's like Sarah Fear Lives is painted on the wall.
Yeah.
So they do and they do an homage to 78 as well, because they have the thing that says Camp Nightwing
Yeah.
1978 on the wall. So that was cool. It's still in the same universe.
And then at the end, they got this worse than
78, which
yeah.
it's up there. But I like the kills. There's a few really cool kills. My favorite kill in the whole series, though, is still the bread slicer. That's probably my favorite kill in the whole series.
I don't know. The paper cutter was pretty good.
Paper cutter's pretty good. We won't tell you exactly what happens, but there is a paper cutter involved. There's some shocking moments in this
Definitely some
film.
shocking moments. Yes.
Very. Uh, as far as
Those of us, those I imagine our audience is already thinking, "Oh God, someone's gonna get electrocuted."
yeah, of the killers, these aren't supernatural entities, but there are hints that maybe something happened. See, here's the thing: the ending. We'll get into this of 1666. You guys have seen it by now. Somebody else picks up the book.
Yes.
So somewhere out there, somebody has the book now. Whether it's one of the survivors or somebody that wants to use it to stop it from happening,
We don't
or if
know.
it's somebody that wants to restart the curse, we don't know. So that's something they could explore. That's where I'm hoping if they do a new trilogy, they get another idea I gave him. You have Dina, Josh, and Sam who survived the trilogy. I would love to see some of the survivors of these other stories come together and form a team to face a bigger bad down the road, where it's like the survivors have to come together. But character wise, Melissa, the friend, I thought she had a good redemption kind of story going. Some of the friends, like I said, they're just followers. The characters they should have given us 5 or 10 more minutes. Devlin, the vice principal's son, I thought he could have been used a little bit more in there.
Well, a lot of these, and this is common with '80s movies in general, they are there to up the body count.
Well, I think, well, yeah,
But yeah, but there's pretty much just characters to pad out the cast,
pad out the cast, body
especially
count, red herrings.
especially when you're dealing with prom night.
You got to have it look like a full school worth of people.
Exactly.
And so some characters are just kind of there to be a red herring in the
Exactly.
background.
As I told you earlier, that there is this movie called Prom Night. There are actually two movies called Prom Night.
Ah.
One, I thought it was going to be a remake, and no, the only thing it shares is the title. But the original is pretty much like Prom Queens,
Hmm.
and it stars Jamie Lee Curtis.
I need to see this. It's a slasher movie?
Uh-huh.
Whenever they announced it was going to be the prom queen, I'm thinking, okay, like when they said we're going to be picking off prom candidates, I thought that would be a cool concept because we've seen like movies that have dances and stuff, but the fact that it was a slasher that happens to take place during prom, I thought made it different from the other Fear Street films. I thought it made it cool.
Mm-hmm.
There were some humor. There was humor in there.
Oh.
I love horror comedy. I like when there's horror. There really is a real threat, but there's also a little humor sprinkled in there. And I thought they did a good job of balancing that humor and horror. Just like Hard Eyes, which we need to watch still together. That one is horror with humor, but still darkness. And so, yeah, I would say they did pull off some different things that are typical of slashers, but they also did their own things too.
Mm-hmm.
So overall, who is this for? If you enjoyed the trilogy, if you go in knowing it's different, I think you could still find. He said to me, "This is very much Fear Street."
The tone and all that, you could tell it was Fear Street.
You could tell you were in R.L. Stein's world, even though Stein it's loosely based on his stuff.
Yeah, and
they get the vibe right, snarky, edgy teenagers.
as for who it's for, fans of those '80s slasher, maybe, or even Scream, which takes a lot from the '80s slasher.
Yeah.
But no, you don't know you don't always need that unstoppable killer.
No.
I mean, you've got movies like Prom Night, My Bloody Valentine, April Fool's Day. That's a fun one. But was just a normal killer, and that's some of these are better than some of the Halloweens and the Friday the 13th and the supernatural ones.
Why do you think that is?
Why?
Yeah.
It could be a number of things. A lot of these supernatural ones, Friday the 13th, the latter sequels, I know for a fact. The first 8, anyway, we had one once a year for nearly a decade. And maybe that's because they want to make money.
Yeah, that's
And then
probably
these
it.
individual ones, like My Bloody Valentine, it's just to make a movie. It's not cashing in on a pre-existing IP. It's not just trying to bring in the money. It's just here, enjoy it.
That's why I like Scream so much, because they have some sequels that are back to back, but they don't do a movie per year for 20 years. And you have 20 of them in 20 years. They're spread out. I like that. I think whenever you take your time, you can enjoy it more. Occasionally, they can pull off a movie that comes out a year later if they like film them together or something.
Okay,
But if they
film
rush
together
them,
if they're designed like that and they went in with that idea and they just had to split it into two films. Okay, but like the case with like the Friday the 13th, one a year for nearly a decade, they were just churning them out to make them to here
yeah.
get people in the seats.
Yeah, with Fear Street, the first three were made like three
Those were
movies,
done
three
together,
weeks, but they were done as a trilogy,
and it's
and it
one
works
story.
perfect. And it's one story, and I love the trilogy. We'll get into that sometime on the channel. But this one, I like that it wasn't 6 months later.
Yeah.
We had some time between the third one and the fourth one, but it being its own thing and a different director. I thought
See,
they
that
had.
always helps too when it comes to these sets like this. If you do a trilogy and then you got one that's a standalone,
Mhm.
bringing in fresh people, whether it be actors or the crewmen. That way you may get a fresh perspective on something. And maybe, I mean, I want to look into this for the Friday the 13th. And I know I keep bringing that one up, but it's one that, how quickly they churned them out.
Mhm.
I wonder how much of the crew actually was there for more than one.
Probably quite a few.
I know the actor that played Jason. We've only ever had one actor that has played Jason in more than one film, and that is Kane Hodder. He played him in 7, 8, 9 slash Jason Goes to Hell, and then Jason X, and then he also did the motion capture for the video game. But every other time we saw Jason on screen, it was a different actor under the hockey mask.
Ah,
And I bet you if we were to dig into it, the same could be said for Michael Myers.
probably. Oh yeah, there's more than one person that's played
Obviously,
Michael.
I know the original is Nick Castle. I don't know about the others.
Yeah.
But Nightmare on Elm Street connects along with Child's Play. It is the same actor in all the films, with the exception of remakes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Brad Dourif may actually hold a record of some sort. Let's see, 7 films,
Oh wow,
3 seasons of a TV show.
that's impressive. Um,
But bring that having a consistency, yes, is nice with actor wise, especially for a character like Freddy or Chucky, where they have more of a character and they're not just walking around silent. They actually have some sort of character. They're vocal. They talk to
yeah.
you. Having the same actor is nice. But something like this, it's nice to get a fresh perspective. I mean, even with Chucky
Well,
and those behind the cameras, you get those fresh perspectives, and sometimes it helps, sometimes it doesn't.
I would say Kiana Madeira as Dina stood out to me. She was my favorite, obviously for a few reasons. But her, Josh, and Sam, Simon and Kate in the first one stole the show. That group of friends was my favorite when it came to like the groups of friends trying to
And I
survive.
mean, movies of this style, they seem to be making a comeback.
Yeah, but
Fear Street, a few years ago, we had The Babysitter,
oh, I love those movies.
but same basic
We need to do that
premise.
for the channel as well.
I think we did them in the same video.
That's right. That's right.
We don't always remember because of the gaps which ones we've done and which ones we
We
haven't.
we need to start making a list. Check it twice.
Yeah,
Find out who's screaming or not, tricking or treating. But this one, I want to see Dina back. I want to see Josh back. I want to see Sam back. But I told him I like the idea of later having different people that have survived the films come back together because they're great. But you almost wonder if it would be too soon if they came back right away. So bringing in fresh characters, fresh faces playing these characters, is great because then you're not seeing the same actors for like
Well,
10
if
films.
it's the same character, I will say hopefully you get the same actor.
Well, right, but I'm saying they could have
But
used the
with
same
like
cast for
those,
different characters, which would be
no,
bad, or bringing the same characters in too much when the story doesn't call for them. Like, what would Sam, Dina's, and Josh's character add to this film? To me, nothing,
nothing. They'd
unless it
be
was at the very end and they said, "Oh, I've seen you've gone through this too." But this takes place in '88, which would be before '94, so you wouldn't even they
it
wouldn't
would
even
have
be.
had to been somewhat epilogue they stuck on the end.
It would have to be later.
Honestly, it wouldn't
Yeah,
have worked.
right.
It would have been we stuck this on there to connect it to the others.
And this feels forced.
Exactly.
So I like that they can do that later if they want, but they don't have to. All now, as we know, is there are other stories to
We
be
do other
told.
Fear Street stories, then they can put, hey, I'm gathering other survivors, people that have gone through stuff like this. I mean, with this, it's just people killing people. There's nothing supernatural about it, unlike the trilogy was The Witch.
Yeah, I would like to see the previous killers that they do the flashbacks of get their own story. Ruby Lane, I would love to see a Ruby Lane movie. The Milkman, Billy Barker. They talk about different
Yeah.
characters that they show that were killers, but we don't know their backstories yet. Not much about them. So I would love to see them actually do
I don't know about a
backstories.
full movie.
I would watch a Ruby Lane movie because she has a really interesting character and story. I think because with her and her mom, what happened with those
Some of
two.
them, yes, but I don't mean we don't need one for every single one.
No, but at least a few of them because fans have been asking for it for years. Ever since they did the trilogy, people are like, "Hey, when are we getting a Ruby Lane movie? When are we getting?" I think what they should do is keep it in their back pocket, and then when the time is right,
What I think is
bring us that.
we don't need a full feature length movie. What about an anthology?
You could,
Take
yeah,
about
you
a
could do that.
90 to 100-minute movie before credits and tell these stories. You don't need the full length to tell the story, possibly. So that could work.
I would do a
I
Ruby.
honestly, you've read more of the fear.
I
You've
would do
been
a Ruby solo film, but then like some of the other killers that they've shown me, like you did the anthology with like three of them, because Ruby I think has the most interesting story. Book wise, some of your killers are just everyday people. A lot of it isn't supernatural, but the one I want to see is the Halloween party, and that one, that book, without spoiling everything, it's a bunch of people being invited to a party by somebody, and they don't know why they're invited. Come to find out, somebody that had died from their family, their parents were involved, so they're taking it out on the kids. So it's one of those stories. I would love. There's also one where they go camping, and people start getting killed at the island. So there's Fear Island. There's also a Fear Island they haven't got into.
yeah, I'm not too familiar with Fear Street. I'm barely familiar with Goosebumps, but R.L. Stein, he knows how to write a creepy story.
He's written hundreds. There's like 50 something books in the main Fear Street series, and there's like 62, I believe, in Goosebumps. And then there's other sort of sets.
Yeah.
But anyways, overall, I like this movie. I don't
Enjoyable.
understand the hate.
Unfortunately, it's one of those at the moment. It's only available on Netflix unless you don't have a problem with bootlegs. I prefer not to get bootlegs if
No.
I. As no.
No, I like legitimate streaming. As I told him, streaming is good for exclusives or for movies you want to watch before you buy them. Just decide if they're worth buying or not. Because sometimes, so do I really want to spend with movies going up? Do you really want to shell out $30 for that new Blu-ray, $35 4K, whatever? Do you really want to shell out that money so you can watch it first on streaming, and then? So I believe in both physical and
Agreed.
digital,
And
but
streaming is nice for some things. I'll admit that.
yeah,
But it's like, okay, enjoyable. And then you get the physical and you get like the making of, the deleted scenes, audio commentaries, possibly.
because I've had to go on YouTube to find the behind-the-scenes stuff of Fear Street, which is nice, but I wish they would have done in their own like behind the killings or behind Fear Street and have like their own feature link thing
Like
that gets you behind
Beyond
the scenes.
Stranger Things.
Do that with Fear Street, yeah. Behind Shady Side or something like that. Beyond Shady Side.
That's a good title.
But guys, that's all we have for today. We really enjoyed the film. I think it is getting hated on. I think if you go in with an open mind and judge it as its own standalone film,
do
you're going
not
to like
judge
it.
it based on the trilogy. And that
Yes.
goes in for film series as a whole. That's a problem, especially if it's designed to be a part of a set. The wrong crew or story writer or whatever can bring down what could be a solid entry. And I know that's happened, especially in novel when you try to adapt a movie from a book.
Yes.
There's sometimes like they're great adaptations, and then you'll get them one in the middle or towards the end. It's like the quality drops.
Yeah.
So don't, just because it shares the Fear Street name, don't judge it compared to the trilogy.
Right. It's its own thing. Look at it as its own slasher entry. I would like to see an actual witch, though. Like, have someone that's falsely accused of being a witch in the background that really is a witch, like, working behind the scenes, and revealed to be, like, the ultimate big bad of this world. I think that
It'd
would
be
be really
awesome.
fun. There's just so much you could do with a series like this. Eddie and I like slashers in our minds after we watch a film. Like we were discussing what could have been done better for this film. There were a few things we brought up,
Agreed.
but
I mean,
that's any film, just about.
as I say, I was just about to bring that up.
Except
That's
for
any film.
Beetlejuice. The first Beetlejuice is perfect, and I will not criticize the first Beetlejuice
Nope.
at all.
There are a few that what we were given, it'd be hard to make it better.
Yes. Monty Python and the Holy Grail being a good example.
Yeah.
Your mother was a hamster and your father smelled
of
the
elderberries.
elderberries.
There are others where after watching, it's like, if they had done that, it may have turned out better. But hindsight, 2020.
Yeah, I got ketchup in my eyes and I had hindsight one time. But guys, this has been a Fear Street review. I hope you watch it, form your own opinion.
Yeah.
Talk in the comments. Let's get the conversation going. Let us know what's your favorite part about this movie. Did you have any favorite characters? Mine was Megan.
Megan was cool.
Megan was cool. And I liked why can't I think of names? I'm blanking right now. Ariana Greenblatt's character.
Yeah.
And then Lori. Lori was,
Yeah.
I like Lori, but Megan's my favorite because she stayed true to herself the whole movie. She doesn't ever try to become popular or anything like that. She doesn't really care.
Yeah. And just be yourself is pretty much, if there had to be some sort of moral to the story, that's pretty much what
Be
it
yourself, and I think that's what I love about Wednesday so much because she don't give a.
No,
She does, but she doesn't. All right, guys, take care. Eat some Halloween candy and enjoy.
Enjoy. Bye.